to make it on time. So we use technology to see how best we can have him, and that is Paul Bukenya, Deputy Spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, my brother Chirabo. And to our audiences, of course, I'm really sorry that at this moment I'm not in the studio. I'm approaching. But yes, like you suggested, we can get started. And I look forward to engaging and sharing highlights on preparations for elections of our leaders at the grassroots level. It is LC1 chairpersons and the committees, as well as women councils and committees that will be elected from the village up to the national level.
Now, first to get it clear, Paul, why have we delayed to have this years?
Yes, it is true. We last had these elections in 2018, and the 5-year term of office ended in the year 2023. As early as 2022, the Electoral Commission had a roadmap and a budget for the elections of 2020. Came out clearly and explained that the funding was not available at that moment, and the Minister of Local Government used the powers that are entrusted to the ministry and issued an instrument that extended the life of the term of office. This was done for some time until when funding became available, and then issued a program that we are following right now, that we issued on the 22nd of June. And this is why we've not had elections. There's been engagement along the way, and we've been reaching out to the public, as well as at government level and at institutional level as the Electoral Commission, to explain the delay in holding these elections and the reason, and then the legal solution so that there is no gap. So at this time, we are set to have the elections, and the roadmap has rolled out, as we indicated last week, the 22nd of June.
Well, now can you assure Ugandans, as you take us through the roadmap, that the elections will be held on those dates? Please drive us through.
The elections are set. We started on the preparatory activities, key preparatory activities. I want to assure Ugandans that government came out and provided funding, and the institution, Electoral Commission, that's responsible for organizing and conducting the elections, issued a roadmap. We've started already on key preparations. We've done the recruitment of supervisors who are very key in organizing these elections, and now we've also recruited and started training officials who will conduct the activities under this electoral roadmap. So under this roadmap that was issued for what we call administrative units elections, administrative units being LC1, that is the village and the ward, and the cell, and then parish elections being the parish and the ward elections. We issued the roadmap for that level of elections. Alongside the same program, we'll also be holding elections for women councils and committees. As you're aware, we have special interest groups that have representation straight from the village up to the national level. During the general elections, we had elections for persons with disabilities straight from the village up to national into parliament. We had elections for youth from the village straight into up to the national level, which is parliament, and also their council. We also had elections for older persons, and even elections for workers who start at the sub-county level. So there is one special interest group whose election was not held from the village level, and that is the women. So alongside the LC1 program, we will also be conducting elections for women councils and committees, which will start at the village level and conclude with elections in September for the National Women Council, National Women Executive Committee at the highest. But to take you through, like you said, yes, LC1 elections are going to be held, and we've started with the preparatory activities. The key activity is compiling the village residence register, which we use for this election. For this election, we don't use the National Voters Register. This is a residence-based election, and we generate a register of residents who are willing to be part of the village council and who then constitute themselves into the electoral college that elects a chairperson for that village. So there will be a compilation of a village council register, and that activity is starting on the 6th of July up to the 10th of July. So that's next Monday. We will be starting the compilation of a register of residents within your village. And this village register will be used for purposes of conducting the LS1 elections. A register is very important in organizing the election. That's a key date. Those are key dates that we need to know and to participate in the exercise. Otherwise, if you're not registered until as a resident, then you cannot participate in the election of the local council one committees and the chairpersons. So that is the first activity that will, of course we've done other activities, but the first field activity where you will be involved, compiling a register.
Paul,
yes, please.
Before you move any further, this is also important that you clarify to Ugandans. Now, who are the people that participate in these LC1 elections? Because I could be a born of that particular area, but I don't stay there. I could be staying in a particular place, but I'm not a born of that area. So do I participate there? Because sometimes you have this confusion. Someone says, last time I voted in my village, then this Ugandan comes, we know where they are born, and they want to vote and elect a LC chairperson for us in that village.
Now, the people who participate in these elections are residents. The key word here is a word resident. You must be a resident in a village, in UBC village. Let's use our UBC village. You must be a resident of a UBC village. But also you must be a citizen of Uganda. This is a public election. All public elections are citizens of Uganda. All public elections are restricted to citizens of Uganda. So we are going to compile a register of all persons who are willing to be part of the council. The council are the members of the village, who are residents in the village. So, and out of whom the executive committee will be elected. So first of all, you must be 18 years of age, a resident of the village. In this case, we are using our UBC village example. And you must be a citizen of Uganda. And you must be willing, you must express willingness to be on the village residence register. So our teams are going to be camping at designated places in each village across Uganda. We have 71,214 villages across Uganda. So in each village, we've recruited a registration officer, a village election officer who is going to conduct the registration. So you must be 18 years of age and above, a citizen of Uganda. You must be resident in that village, and you must be willing to be a member of the council. I mean, willing to be registered for purposes of that election. So another thing that is important, you must be able to identify you as a citizen. That means you must have a national ID, because residents who participate in these elections must be also eligible to participate in national elections. And will be required to present your names, of course, your national ID card, or your national ID number. In case there are some people who do not have the physical cards, but they have proof of registration by way of a number.
Or they have cards that expired, but the NIN is still the same.
The NIN is still relevant.
It doesn't change,
that they're
yes.
still using the NINs, yes. And then, of course, you must prove that you're a resident of that village. So the law says people who are ordinarily resident, that is people who regularly stay in that area, who are residents of the area, basically. So it has nothing to do with you were born here, you were born there. The issue is residence, because LC1s are concerned about issues of residence. They are the ones who take care of the issues of people who reside in that particular village. That is why it's called Local Council 1. It is concerned about the residents of that particular village. UBC village, Leres village, Civic Center village. That's the way it is, a resident of that village.
Okay, please let's continue with the roadmap.
So Of course, compiling a register is very important because if you are not on the register, you will not be able to vote. You know, my brother, Mr. Chirabo, people have said LC1 is a very simple election, but basically it follows the norms of the elections, general elections, public elections. You must be registered in order to vote, but also in order to contest as a candidate. These elections are very important, and they're under a multi-party system. So all those who want to contest or even to be nominated to be members of the committee, you must be registered. Or even to support a person to contest as also one chairperson, you must be registered. So it is very, very important. We must, I think, note that key date. From the 6th of July up to the 10th of July, we will be conducting the election. These are 5 days. After that, we will cut off the compilation and display the register from the 13th up to the 14th of July within the village. We'll display it. Remember, this register is handwritten. It is generated by the Electoral Commission. Rather, you know, it is compiled by the Electoral Commission. We have our official registration books. It's not a big matter of someone. I've heard people saying, no, we shall write our names as residents. You know, getting an exercise book and writing your names. No, we have an official registration book issued by the Electoral Commission with serial numbers, with fields that have to be, you know, marked and filled in. And that is the book that we will use to confirm it will be our register. So it is important that we register. Then, of course, after that, we will nominate candidates. The nomination of candidates for LC1 chairpersons will be from the 15th up to the 19th of July. We will be conducting this exercise at the respective sub-county headquarters within the districts and the cities of Uganda. So we've reached out to political parties to identify candidates, and I think you've seen parties have been talking about their own roadmap based on ours. It is very important that aspiring candidates meet the requirements for a nomination as candidates for this election. The first one being that they are registered in the village residence book and that they meet the requirements for participating in public elections.
Now, so, Paul, still at that, what are the requirements for someone to contest as a chairperson LC1 and then later choose his executive? So what does it take? How much money? Because for other elective positions, we know an MP, Electoral Commission demands some money. Other levels, there is a price to pay for that. Some have education levels. So what is it that me who is warming up, I'm talking about the viewer, not me, what must they ensure they have who may not have parties to organize them?
Yeah, this election is open to candidates presented by political parties or persons who are contesting as independents. You must be registered in the village residence book. You must be nominated. Of course, you must have a proposer and a seconder. If you're presented by a political party, they will give you their letter that presents you as their flag bearer. The nomination forms are distributed free of charge, starting from the 9th up to the 14th of July. We will be issuing nomination forms free of charge at the sub-counties. And then, of course, there is no nomination fee required for you to contest for LC1 executive chair, LC1 chairperson. There is no minimum academic qualification for this elective position.
Even if I've never gone to school, I qualify very well?
Yeah, there is no minimum requirement. We will not require you to attach proof of academic, because there is no minimum academic qualification. So persons of various different academic qualifications, whatever levels you've done, or probably even no level, it will not be required to. You will not be required to present that. Of course, you must be presented. You must have a proposer and a seconder, and fill out the forms very well. So that is what you're required to do as an aspiring candidate. It is very clear, and we've sent out the guidelines, the detailed guidelines on our website, and of course our offices can guide you more on that area.
Now let's go to the voting poll. How is it going to be done? Is it any different from what we had the previous elections?
Yeah, of course. Let me also maybe mention this. After the nominations, there will be a time for you candidates to move around the village, and that is from the 20th up to the 27th of July. Those who have been nominated can campaign because seek support, and then we will have our polling day on the 28th of July. Polling will be on the 28th of July. Now, polling for chairperson of village council LC1 is by lining up behind the candidate of choice. It's by lining up behind the candidate, behind their symbol, or behind their official agent. And the polling will be at a designated place within each village across Uganda. Mr. Chilaba, like I mentioned, we have 71,214 villages across Uganda. This is where we will have the elections, wherever they've been contested, because you may find that after nomination, maybe one village or two have candidates who are unopposed. But where the election is contested, we will have the polling day on the 28th of July across the country. We've issued a detailed program showing how we will conduct the elections. The elections will be held during a village council meeting. So 28th of July is a day for village council meeting, which will be convened for purposes of conducting this election. And we've issued a program showing that we need to gather together at our designated places. All those who have been registered into the village residents register book, we gather into our village center, and there will be a verification exercise to confirm that the people who have gathered are actually on the register. And as we verify, we will issue a slip to identify each verified voter. And then we'll have some voter education session to tell us briefly what we'll be doing. And then we'll line up behind the candidates of choice. We'll line up behind our candidates. We'll line up behind our candidates and conduct the election. So there will be, after lining up, there will be counting, and the counting will be able to determine the support for each candidate. And then, of course, thereafter announce the result of the election. And when a chairperson has been announced, elected, he or she will then present or nominate the persons they will be serving with on the executive committee. The village executive committee has 11 members, and only the chairperson is an elective position. This is the only one we elect together as members of the council. Then the rest of the members, 4 of them will join the committee by virtue of their offices. And I think, let me mention this, the chairperson of the youth at the village will become the secretary for youth. The chairperson of the women council at the village will become the secretary for women affairs. Chairperson for older persons becomes secretary for older persons. And chairpersons for persons with disabilities becomes the secretary for older persons affairs. Then the other members on the committee, the 6 members will be nominated by the chairperson. That is the vice chairperson, secretary for information, secretary for security, the one we call defense, secretary for finance, and the secretary for production. So our day starts at 7 in the morning, and we've issued a detailed program where all members of the council are supposed to. Last time I remember government enabled Ugandans to participate by granting a public holiday. Hope this time around it also happens, because this is a very important election. But we will assemble, and then we will be verified, and then we will line up behind the candidates of our choice, and then the candidate who is announced winner will be the one to nominate the 6 members to come onto the council, and that will form the conclusion of the elections for LC1 chairpersons, and then we'll proceed to the parish level committee elections.
Now, Paul, what do you make of the voter turnout? In the elections that we've been having, we are seeing a reduction in terms of numbers, people who are registered, compared to those that come and vote on that D-Day. Do you anticipate these numbers to grow?
We really call upon Ugandans to exercise their rights to vote their leaders starting at the village level, a very important level of election, because this is really the starting point. Uganda, voting in public elections is not compulsory. We think that with a resident-based election, this is an election where you don't have to go to travel back to your place of origin. We should be able to participate in this election. This is the election that is very critical to us. It really affects us at the family level. We're also calling on parties to mobilize their supporters to participate in the elections because they'll be presenting candidates. But really, Mr. Chirabo, this is an election where you need the LC1 chairperson to be elected and to lead you, a person who is responsible, who is going to hold a stamp, who is going to write the letter introducing you to various government agencies. You want to join the security, military, police, prison service. You're applying for a letter, you're applying for a job somewhere and you need a reference, a letter of good conduct from local leaders. This is the person who does that. A letter introducing you for various, even our functions that we do. Else one does everything like that. Land agreements, disputes, resolving disputes at that level, managing, all those issues that happen at the village level. It is really the else one chairperson, which is why I think it's a very important election that we should take interest in and make sure that we vote the leaders that we think will take our villages to the next level.
Now, Paul, still on the D-Day of voting, in the previous elections, because they were voting by lining up, which is going to be the same thing here, with its advantages given and why we adopted to that. But we saw youth groups coming at these polling centers and disorganizing people. We saw crisscrossing in lines, a bit of confusion. As the Electoral Commission, we know you're not in charge of security, but you're the overall body that manages elections in this country. What are your plans that we don't see a recap of that?
Yes, it is true that elections by lining up, we are going to use elections by lining up, and that is the law for this level of elections. It is the law. So what we've done, of course, we've learned from previous election that some of the stations experience, of course, sensitizing. The first level is sensitizing our citizens, the people of Uganda, and the people in each village to really do their best to make sure that their village level elections succeed and end smoothly without, violence and disturbances like that. But also, as an electoral commission, each station will have 3 officials. We have a village election official who will be the presiding officer, his or her assistant, and then a constable. And then, of course, this is a program also shared with, it's a national program, and security is aware that elections have security requirements. We'll be looking at also issues around security, but is asked. Of course, like I mentioned, when we meet in the morning on the 28th of July, one of the first things will be is to verify the voters who are present. We will do verification, and that means we will call out the names on the register, and each person who is verified as being present and registered will be issued with a slip. That slip is what's going to help identify them as voters. So when we come to voting, going into the line, you must have that slip in order to be on the line. And when the village election official is counting, the official will be, taking that slip from each person they count. As they count, one, two, they take over, they take up the sleep. So whoever doesn't have a sleep and has joined the line will not be counted, because that will not be a voter for purposes of that election. That's what we think will also help us to, you know, handle that particular issue, that particular challenge that we have there. But of course, we will do supervision and work with security to address areas that may have unique needs and requirements at that moment. So we are working hard around that, and we're sensitizing. We're trying to make sure that there is no disturbance, so that we ensure a peaceful process and ensure that the processes go well. So that's what we are doing as Electoral Commission. And then, of course, now to play their part. If they play their part well, we definitely will have smooth elections in all the villages across Uganda.
Well, in all the villages, 71,214. This is quite a big task, Paul, as the Electoral Commission.
Yes. Yep.
Because you've been having elections, but polling stations have not been to this magnitude. Now
the polling stations for general elections were 50,000. Yes, the number of villages is more, and each village is a polling station. So yes, the LC1 elections are big. That's what we always emphasize. Elections for LC1 are big, which is why we need to work together to make sure these elections have been long awaited, and now we need to make sure that we conduct them and conclude them successfully.
Now, Paul, I must let you go, but let me just have your parting shot in there. Dating, registering, and then the D-Day for voting.
Yeah, of course. Now, the date for registration is the 6th up to the 10th, 6th up to the 10th of July, and we want to ask you all to come out and participate. The 6th up to the 10th, that is from Monday, starting on Monday and ending on the 5th on Friday. We will be compiling the village residence register. That is the register that we'll use for elections. So do you want to contest at parish level? You must be on the LC1 register. You must be a member of it in order to progress to the parish level. Then the nomination days, which are very, very important as well for those who are aspiring. The nomination days will be the 15th up to the 19th of July. Please, starting on the 13th, starting on the 9th, we will be issuing nomination forms. Go and pick the nomination forms and fill them up, make sure they are correctly filled in, and then prepare to present them on nomination day so that you succeed in your aspiration.
Well, thank you so much. Elections, but very important, fellow Ugandan, do not wake up that day. Monday next week, make it a point, go in your village, look for that registration point and ensure you're part of the village register, so that when it comes to choosing the village council LC1 chairperson, you participate and you choose the right person. This sometimes is an office most of the people take lightly, but you only know how important. And the character and personality you meet there is a difference to handle your issues. I've seen people in land wrangles, and when it comes to who the LC chairperson is for arbitration or clarity, he's picked from not even a bar. I don't know how to describe where they are picked. He comes staggering, and then you're told, chairman wuyo, mutule mu nsonga zammwe. Yet the people, the residents in this village, your corporate class, your very land people, you're educated, and here I want to urge the corporate class, stop despising this office. Don't despise it and think it's an office for maybe some people, the jobless people in the village, retired people, people who have failed. At the end of the day, these are people that you need to invite. It is very funny when a president goes to visit and the LC1 is invited to welcome the president. in that particular village. So let's partake of this office. Interest yourself, grab this office, go register, campaign, better try. At least you're content that I did my best, but people never voted for me. They chose that drunko, or they chose that person. Remember, it has no academic qualification. How is this person going to read key documents when he didn't see any chalkboard? Oh, lightly, and the world is moving, so let's interest ourselves. Don't despise. To me, it is the greatest office that you can take, because then you have a control of the affairs of where you stay. So I encourage you, please go for this. Don't leave it for the jobless. Let's change this time. Let's have a change in the chairpersons of our villages. Well, we'll go for a break. Thank you so much for being with us, and keep it on UBC TV. Good morning.
My question is, what is the difference between rental tax and income tax?